Welcome to the Neural Implant Podcast, where we talk with the people behind the current events and breakthroughs in brain implants in an understandable way, helping bring together various fields involved in neuroprosthetics. Here is your host, Ladan Yurachek.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Neural Implant Podcast. Today's guest is Andrew Wilder, and he is the CEO of Ripple Neuro. Actually, I was over there filming kind of their 10-year plan announcement from 2020 to 2030 back in beginning of February and now in 2020. And we were kind of filming some, promotional stuff, talking about what they were planning on doing. And we hadn't originally planned to publish this episode, and we hadn't originally planned to post it on here. So I actually didn't record my side of the audio, but in the end, I was able to recover a little bit from the camera stuff. So we made a nice video kind of describing everything, but I thought that this episode was so good that I wanted to share it, kind of share a little bit of Andrew's story and the vision for where Ripple is going to be going in the next 10 years. So hopefully you enjoy that. And again, I'm sorry about the audio quality. I've tried to clean it up as best I could. My side is not so good. And then actually my audio recorder cut out the last 2 minutes. And so I had to use that all from the camera. So it's not as good. So it's not as good as it could be, but I just thought this was so good that we couldn't pass this up. But anyways, do you want to introduce yourself and what you guys are talking about? What big plans you guys got?
So my name is Andrew Wilder, CEO of Ripple. My background is kind of all over the place. I started out doing civil engineering and then got involved in software right out of college. And that opened my eyes to technology and kind of where things were headed in the 21st century. And then I took a mid-20s sabbatical, spent some time traveling around, pursuing some hobbies, some passions, and fell in love with neuroscience and decided that that's what I was going to dedicate my life to. And that's shifted somewhat in the past 15 years to neural interface technology that can help neuroscience, advance the frontiers of neuroscience, and then also taking neural interface technology and developing medical devices with it to have an impact on people's lives now. So overall, my passion is still very much using technology to interface with the nervous system and provide just knowledge about how the nervous system works and then also, be able to have a meaningful impact on people's lives. So it's been very lucky and very rewarding. I feel like this century is a lot about advanced technologies for interacting with the human body, whether they be software technologies, hardware technologies, medical technologies. We're doing amazing things with gene editing, with CRISPR, amazing things with huge big data. We're learning a ton about the microbiome, and on the neuroscience side of things and the neural interface side of things, over the next 20 years, there's going to be major breakthroughs that are going to help provide needed, medical therapies for lots of different diseases that today don't have really good therapies. And Ripple, our reason for being from the very beginning has always been to develop technologies that help people. Early on, since a lot of us came from neuroscience backgrounds, we developed technology and devices for neuroscience research. And then recently, over the past about 5 years, we've invested heavily and focused heavily on implantable technology. Implantable neural interface technology is not new to the world. Just think about cardiac pacemakers. Those have been a huge success. Think about how many people are alive and living healthy lives because they have something that's keeping their heart beating in a regular rhythm. People with movement disorders are being tremendously helped by deep brain stimulation, implanted stimulators to remove tremor so that they can lead functional lives. And there's just a number of different cases where neural interface technology has had a tremendous impact on some very high need patients and really dramatically changed their lives. And I think that if you look at the kinds of things that are out there today, epilepsy, cognitive impairment from age or disease like stroke or injury like stroke, memory, mood, a bunch of different neurological disorders that are dramatically impacting the lives of a ever-aging population. And Ripple is at it's positioned well to provide solutions for these people and develop for these individuals and develop technologies that really could have an impact on their lives. So our focus now, as we look to the next 10 years and the next 20 years and the next 30 years, is to continue to provide solutions in the neuroscience space and get technologies out there, enable discoveries that can inform therapies, and then also to focus on implantable technologies, some that we're developing ourselves for end market applications, and other technologies where we are working with groups that are pursuing their own indication, and we're helping them get along the way by providing engineering services and core technology components. So really, as Ripple has grown up as a company, we've expanded the markets that we're involved in with the constant theme of moving more towards sort of the medical side of things.
So not just experimental animal models, but more the actual human ones, and very interesting. So you guys have been growing, and this was kind of your big announcement a few days ago to your company. It was a 10-year plan, 2020 to 2030, and what you guys are planning for the vision.
Sure.
Do you want to describe
so we have some
bit?
big things in the works. Just to sort of launch into it, so one of the core things that Ripple has been interested in from the very beginning is neuroprosthetics, with a specific focus on helping people with limb loss. So this could be an amputation from a battle injury, it could be an amputation from a disease or traumatic injury, or potentially from a divascular disease such as, you oftentimes get lower limb amputations. And so we're focusing on devices that help these people gain intuitive, natural control of prosthetic devices. So for the upper limb, one of the biggest challenges today with controlling a prosthetic limb is getting the control signals out of the body. The person can think clearly, they have all their mental faculties, they just can't get the control signals out to the prosthetic limb. So the implant technology Ripple is working on is built to record the signals from inside the body and wirelessly beam them outside the body so that they can be used to control the robotic limb. And then on the opposite side, or the reverse side, we're working on technology to take sensor data from the prosthetic limb and transmit it into the nervous system so that the person can feel the limb and they can feel their daughter's hand as their daughter holds the prosthetic limb, and they can live a fully functional, enabled life. And one of the major problems or situations that happens when you have an amputation is you get chronic pain from phantom limb kind of syndrome. And so there's a lot of evidence suggesting that if you can stimulate sensory nerves and give a realistic sensation from the prosthesis, that will counteract or reduce the experience of phantom limb pain. So not only can we help people regain their full abilities, but we can also remove situation that's causing them a lot of pain and anguish in their lives. And then broadly speaking, for the company in general over the next 10 years, so we plan on doing clinical trials with these implanted devices over the next 5 years. We're funded through various federal grant mechanisms to do that, which is very exciting. And this is based on a lot of hard work that Ripple's put in the past on developing these devices, vetting them, their safety, their efficacy, doing all of what's called the preclinical work on these. And we're very well positioned to do clinical trials for these devices now. If everything goes well with the clinical trials, so that's over the next few years, we'll be looking at market clearance and then rolling them out to the population and having that impact that we're really excited to have on the population. So we think there's a high need for this kind of a device, and we think it will be a fundamental game changer for prosthetics. And then as we've been developing the implant technology for the prosthetics application, when you think about it, the nervous system, if you can interface with the nervous system, if you can read from the nervous system and write to the nervous system, and you have the core technologies that allow you to do that, the sky is the limit. I mean, so there are a lot of really smart doctors and physicians or clinical care specialists out there who understand that if you could do a certain thing to interact with the nervous system, you could have a tremendous clinical impact. And so what they lack is the engineering skills and the technology platform to achieve that end. And so we've partnered with several different groups who have specific indications in mind, and we've provided the technology and the design engineering services to help them develop devices that they are then taking themselves through clinical trials and reaching the end market. So it's kind of the difference between IBM and Intel. IBM sold computers and Intel sold chips that go inside computers. So Ripple does both. Ripple is pursuing end medical devices that we will market ourselves, and we're also producing components that other vendors in this space or other companies, other people with great ideas in this space can use. And part of the big announcement is that Ripple is restructuring to accommodate these different markets. And so we love the neuroscience market. It's near and dear to our heart, and we're creating a company to focus on just the neuroscience market. Actually, two companies, one to focus on the animal research and one to focus on human and translational research. And then on the sort of implanted bioelectric medicine neuromodulation markets, we're creating a company to focus on engineering, helping companies develop the technologies that they need for their markets or for their end indications. And then we're creating a company to focus specifically on neuroprosthetics. All of these companies were created at the beginning of this year, and over the next 10 years will continue to grow into successful neurotechnology companies.
Should customers, PIs or professors be worried? I mean, will there be any drop in quality? Maybe some key people from one team are going to be pulled on another team or something like this? Or how do you guys kind of expect
That's
to
a great
see
question. My personal feeling is that there's so much synergy between these efforts across these companies that, for example, all of our work on the implant side of things, implantables side of things, has had tremendous benefits for the neuroscience community because we've released versions of those products that people can use in their animal experiments. So now Ripple offers a fully implantable system for recording EMG signals or LFP signals. And this is the only kind of device of this scale on the market. And so it's kind of the opposite effect than kind of taking energy away from the neuroscience side of our business. It's actually helped feed the neuroscience side of our business.
So by kind of focusing in these different directions, they can help each other, and 1 + 1 = 3 kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
And
one of the things that's great about the neuroscience side of things is it helps us get technology out early. It helps us understand how that technology works, what the advantages and drawbacks are of the technology, and helps us tune it so that it's perfect. And then we can port it over into the human medical device side of things once we've demonstrated that it works and that it's efficacious and safe. And then when we develop new software or new technology over on that side, we can bring it back into the neuroscience side of things. Ultimately, that commercialization pathway, I think, makes our desire to invest in core technologies even greater than your typical neuroscience company, and the markets that we're going after will support sort of a continuous reinvestment in the R&D side of things and the new technology side of things. That's kind of critical to, I think, Ripple's identity as a neurotechnology company is not just developing one tool or one technology and then kind of leveraging it out. It's really continuing to develop kind of a continuous pipeline of technology development that we can then commercialize in different areas. Ripple has, from the very beginning, focused on new innovative technologies. We were the first to come out with a digital front end for recording large numbers of neural channels very close to the electrode, low noise recordings. First one to come out with implantables. First one to come out with a wearable high channel count processor for mobile experiments. All kinds of different things that have been part of Ripple's end goal of medical devices, developing medical devices, that has benefited the neuroscience community.
Interesting. So kind of a suite of solutions rather than just one product.
And continually a market energy and a market focus that drives us to continually reinvest in that suite of technology.
And so you guys are projecting to grow as well. And how much have you grown?
That's a great question.
Recently,
So I've been with the company for about 10 years, a little over 10 years. And when I started, we were in a residential house that was in a dual zoning area, and we were about 9 people. Each of the employees had a different room, and a couple of employees were together in a few of the rooms. And then steadily, so that was 2009, steadily over the past 10 years, we've grown from 9 people to 37 people, which we are today. And we're looking to grow by another 5 or so in the next 6 months. So as we grow over the next decade to roll out into clinical markets, to increase our contract engineering and ultimately contract manufacturing capabilities, I expect we'll grow to probably over 100, maybe even as many as 200 people. So it depends on how these businesses pan out.
That's pretty insane. How do you make sure that you hire the right people? I mean, you're kind of saying that a lot of your success has been based on just a few engineers, and like a few engineers have really propelled you forward. How do you maintain that? And
it's a really good question. I think one of the things that's really tremendous about university education system in the United States is it's so strong, especially in the sort of STEM areas. It's producing a lot of new graduates on a regular basis. And there's only so many academic positions that those graduates can go into. So we have been almost inundated with applicants who are super high quality, very high caliber, who have a passion for neuroscience or a passion for applications of technology in medical space, or maybe who have even a little experience in a commercial segment, but come from engineering or a science background. And so the market for us has been ripe. The talent pool is quite full and quite talented. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So it's probably not even that big of a problem then. It's more the other side of talent being wasted.
Yeah, I think so. We're looking for a good cultural match. So there is a filter that we're applying. A lot of people overly focused on one aspect of the technology, or focused on getting in with a company that's going to IPO immediately, or some other dimension of it. But we really look for people who are passionate about long-term sustainability of the company, passionate team players, really committed to the idea of having an impact on the world, people who wake up every day and are excited about doing the hard work to bootstrap a medical device company that's going to have lots of impact on the world. So there is a filter there, but honestly, we've had a lot of luck, knock on wood, finding good employees. I think the culture at Ripple, people really respond well to that, and that's been a huge selling point for us. We fly people out to see the company, and after meeting all the employees and seeing how excited and happy they are and how motivated they are to come in and kick ass at their job every day, we hardly need to sell the company after that. So it's pretty exciting. Yeah, it's super. I feel lucky that way.
That's really cool. So you guys are going to be starting human studies soon. Mm-hmm. You have your first in human already, right? Like first device in human. These are just kind of trials, or are they? Is it going to be like the pacemaker one day in this 10-year plan, or is it still going to be something more niche? Or
that's a great question. So if you look at the people with cardiovascular disease, just the number of people with cardiovascular disease versus the number of people with amputations, I mean, they're different sizes, markets for sure, or populations. However, just as people who have cochlear implants, I mean, that's a very clear need and clear use case and has tremendous impact on the patient's lives. We'll fit more into that kind of a category. People aren't going to be electively amputating their hand so they can get a sweet robotic hand. However, at some point, who knows? You never know how it's going to go. To your question about kind of what the next few years looks like. So yes, we do have a device that is a Ripple design device that's being used by another company as part of their it's a Ripple design component that's being used by another company as part of a larger medical device. It's an implant. It's recording brain signals, and it's a super exciting application that I can't talk about for non-disclosure reasons. But that's an example of how the kind of core technology platform that we are building now is very useful for a lot of different applications. And Ripple's a leader in implanted sensing, which is what they call it in sort of the neuromodulation bioelectric medicine space. A lot of the companies that are out there right now, a lot of the bigger companies like your Medtronics or your Boston Scientifics, they are okay at stimulation because that's where their markets have been in the past. And cardiac pacing is stimulation. DBS is stimulation. Some of the companies are starting to look at a little bit of closed loop where they're sensing a little bit and then they're stimulating based on some information. Ripple, because we come from a neuroscience background, has always had an expertise in high fidelity, high channel count, very sensitive sensing. And so we have worked with several companies to develop medical devices where sensing is a critical component of the function. And the one that's being currently used in clinical trials, this is an example of that. Just from a regulatory medical device development timeline, typically what happens is you develop the hardware and do a bunch of bench tests on it. Then you do some other kinds of testing where you're testing is it biocompatible, how does tissue respond to it. These are all
in vivo, but in animal model kinds of tests. And then you do sort of a carefully monitored study in animals. That's kind of a final study before you submit for what's called an IDE, which is an investigational device exemption from the FDA here in the United States. And then what you typically do is a small pilot trial. And then depending on the device, depending on your regulatory pathway, you may do a larger trial. If you're going for a class 3 medical device, you'll do what's called a PMA. You'll go for a PMA, and you'll do maybe a several hundred patient study. If you're going for a class 2 device or a regulatory pathway that is 510K, you may do a smaller study. The Ripple's devices fit into a category of device, an implanted device, which is basically the risk profile that allows us to go for the class 2 pathway. So we will do a clinical trial to demonstrate that it works and that it's safe, but it'll be a smaller clinical trial. We'll do that over the next few years. And then based on that, we plan to do a regulatory submission with the FDA so that by 2024, 2025, probably 2024 actually, we'll have that device cleared by the FDA for commercialization. So that's our plan, that's our hope. So then starting in sort of the mid of the decade, we'll start ramping out that device in commercial sales of that device, working with different hospitals, with orthopedic surgeons, neurosurgeons who are capable of implanting the device, and then we'll be working with prosthetists, occupational therapists who will be helping patients use the device and learn how to use the device. And so that will be an effort that will grow over the next 5 years as we continue the commercial rollout of the device. So in 10 years, our goal across both our engineering contract design products and our neuroprosthetic implantables is to have 10,000 Ripple devices implanted in humans. So that's really not a commercial goal, that's an impact goal. So what really motivates people at Ripple all across the company is having an impact on people's lives. And so we set a bar for us that we want to impact 10,000 lives with implantable Ripple technology. It's going to be hard work, but I see a clear path to how we would get there.
Very cool. Very cool. Yeah, I mean, definitely, I think that's a very clear path, and you can achieve it. I mean, especially even these these clinical trials, it's 100, and then if when everything works as well as it has been so far, then it's a very clear thing. So very exciting stuff. I think this is I really like what you guys have been doing, and I've been following it and everything like this, and commend your tact with going forward in this. And I think this is definitely one of the companies to follow. Is there anything that we didn't talk about that you want to talk about?
If you're interested in an exciting opportunity, an exciting career in neurotechnology, medical neural interface technology, or neuroscience research technology, give us a call. We're looking to grow. We're looking for talented, passionate people. So we want to build a great team. We think there's a lot of great talent out there that could really help us with our mission. So if you feel a strong mission for having an impact on the world, give us a ring.
Hope you enjoyed the show and were able to learn something new, bringing together different fields in novel ways. Until next time on the Neural Implant Podcast.